Hello everyone, thank you for joining me today. My name is Tao. I'm a first year PhD student at Maxi University. Today I'm going to present one of my initial research supervised by Professor Suzanne Wilkinson and Dr. Niluka Domingo from Maxi University. And my research paper title is Climate Change Adaptation in New Zealand's Building Sector. Okay, let's start. So this presentation is divided into four main parts: introduction, research methodology, research results, discussion, and conclusion. So there are some main focuses in this presentation. First one is climate change and its countermeasures. The second one is potential climate change implications for New Zealand's building sector. And the third one is climate change adaptation in the building sector at different levels: city level, neighborhood level, and individual building level. Okay, so climate change is one of the major issues facing all countries, and it calls for top priority universal response from all sectors. So I'm sure that all of us may probably know about the climate change definition. Basically, it's just a change in climate that we may feel hotter during summer, colder during winter, and we may experience more extreme weather events such as severe flood, drought, etc. However, let's look at this comprehensive definition provided by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. So, climate change risks have negative impacts on natural and human systems. Looking at this picture, we can see how climate change currently impacts on our life. The left-hand side picture is a Vietnamese wedding, and the right-hand side one, which is popular these days, and I'm sure that most of us may hear about the flood in Napier City at the moment. So to tackle with climate change, there are two countermeasures: climate change mitigation and climate change adaptation. So traditionally, there was a generally independent action between climate change mitigation and adaptation. However, some researchers argued that integrated climate change mitigation and adaptation could be a better solution to tackle climate change risks. So how about the climate change and the building sector? Look at this diagram. You can see that there's an interrelationship between climate change and buildings. So buildings release greenhouse gas emission through operation and material, which is the key climate driver, and in turn climate change result in change in mean and variability of temperature, precipitation, which have negative impacts on building. So here are some key findings after conducting a literature review regarding climate change and New Zealand's building sector. The first one is applying extended adaptation measure will be necessary to increase the efficiency level for mitigation measures. Secondly, traditionally, most attention is paid to reducing emissions and climate change mitigation. However, there is limited research focusing on climate change adaptation for building in New Zealand. That's the reason why this paper explores the climate change implications for the New Zealand building sector and examine how the sector currently adapts to climate change. So moving to the research methodology, an innovative application of systematic literature review approach has been applied in this study. These are some keywords has been used, and the final selection includes 14 journal papers, 10 reports from government and independent organizations. The qualitative data was analyzed using qualitative thematic analysis. There are four main themes in the research results. The first one is potential climate change implication for New Zealand building sector. So there are 25 potential direct climate change impacts on building and categorized into 7 main groups. Among them, extreme weather events, drought, increased fire weather, and ongoing sea level rise were ranked as the most significant risks, with 90 scored in terms of urgency according to the new report from Ministry of the Environment. So this table shows potential direct climate change impacts on building. For example, as we can see, increased overheating and air conditioning load has high possible scale of negative impacts. So moving to the second theme, which is the climate change adaptation at city level. Some city councils have prepared climate change adaptation plans. For example, the Auckland Unitary Plan, which is aiming to slow down the urban sprawl effects. However, additional work will need to be done in the future in terms of coastal replacement. Compared to Auckland City Council, Wellington City Council employs general strategies for addressing climate change risks. However, particularly adaptation plans for the building sector have not been identified in these approaches. As them at the city level, at the neighborhood level, we have some examples. Tasman District Council introduced land use and building controls compared with Kapiti Coast District Council. Besides that, a community project supported by Lower Hutt Council, Wellington proposed some actions such as control land use, require minimum floor levels for building, and limited new developments, etc. So let's consider the climate change adaptation at individual building level. So much of the current literature pays particular attention to climate change mitigation at the individual building level, such as try to focus on the reducing greenhouse gas emission or technical solutions. While there's only one study has focused on climate change adaptation, this study suggests climate-associated adaptation actions regarding intense rainfall, intense wind, and flooding. However, the question about how climate change mitigation and adaptation criteria can be integrated in the design process remain unanswered. Coming to the end, we have discussion and conclusion section. These are some main findings from this study. Firstly, 25 potential direct climate change impacts on building were found in a literature review. And significantly, the change in temperatures and increasingly intense weather events are likely to be the most important factors. Climate change adaptation actions are occurring predominantly at the city and neighborhood level rather than the individual building level, is the second significant finding. Therefore, more practical action focusing on adaptive building designs should be considered, which can be particularly addressed in building regulation. More climate change adaptation require not only an urgent response from government but also industry engagement. In the future, there's abundant room for future progress to identify the willingness, capacity, and action of the construction practitioners in adapting to climate change. And finally, climate change mitigation and adaptation assessment during the planning and implementation processes of building projects is required as better solution to tackle climate change risks. Here are some references for the presentation. And thank you so much for your attention. I'm happy to answer any questions.